But a song like Until the Day I Die, it still resonates with people the same as it did 20 something years ago. I don't know how we were smart enough to do it that way, but.
You're listening to OurSpace with Matt Vettese.
Welcome to OurSpace with Matt Vettese. This is a show for millennials, some Gen Z and Gen X as well, that grew up listening to emo, pop punk, and all sorts of music under the alternative umbrella. You know, the kind of stuff that got us bullied in high school for listening to it. It's a show that allows us to connect with the bands that we grew up loving and, of course, discover new music in the same spirit of MySpace. But this isn't MySpace. This is OurSpace, and OurSpace is now powered by elderemo.com. They want to do the same thing, except they want you to do it in style with a bunch of awesome t-shirts, hoodies, and more. Whether you're heading to Warped Tour or waiting for your next show, they've got you covered with early 2000s peak scene lore t-shirts, some kitty shirts, really cute one that says Stink 182, and even stuff for your furry friends, like a little bandana that says Motion Kitty Soundtrack. Plus, if you head over to elderemo.com now and use the code OurSpace, you'll get 15% off your next order. Link's going to be in the description of this episode as well. Thanks for listening to another episode of OurSpace with Matt Vettese. Remember to subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and please remember to rate and review the show and follow along if you're listening on Spotify or Apple. That is the best way to support the show. And of course, on the show, we talked to a whole bunch of awesome up-and-coming acts within the emo and alternative scene. And we also connect with some of the bands that we've been loving since we were teenagers. Today happens to be one of those bands. We are joined by Dan Marsala of Story of the Year. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me. I was going to say, we're up and coming, we're still trying to get there. 20 something years in, we're still working on it. We're getting there.
I hear Warped Tour, you might get discovered sometime at Warped Tour, maybe hand out some CDs in the line or something like that.
This could be the year. We're finally doing Warped Tour stuff.
Well, you've just released your 7th studio album, A.R.S.O.N, out now. So go, if you're watching this or streaming this, go and stream that album as well if you haven't yet. But something that I think is really cool is A.R.S.O.N stands for All Rage, Still Only Numb. I kind of take my own interpretation based off of that, but I'm kind of curious to hear what the meaning behind that acronym is on your end of things.
The name A.R.S.O.N came from gasoline, from the song where I say here for the A.R.S.O.N. And at the time, we weren't thinking that was an album name. It was just like a cool lyric. We were just thinking of like gasoline themed things. So, but when we got done, it was like, all right, we had a few ideas. Into the Dark was another song on the record. And that was an option, but there's so many records called Into the Dark or some version of that. So we wanted something different that stood out. And I was like, well, that A.R.S.O.N line's pretty weird and cool. And if we made a backwards acronym for that, we could make it, mean more to encompass the record. So really we kind of built that backwards. And, I had a bunch of different ideas and options, but like the words rage and numb just kept like making sense. It was like, there's a lot of anger in the world. There's a lot of, everybody's mad, but you get no positive results from any of it. You still feel like shit at the end. And it's like, so I don't know, some version of that just made sense to me, and it kind of felt how the record felt. And All Rage, Still Only Numb. I think it's pretty cool.
It was reverse engineered then.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was kind of a later in the process thought. And we had a bunch of funny ones. Obviously, you can just imagine how easy it is to come up with stupid things when you're trying to backronym something. But yeah, that was the one that made sense to us.
So A.R.S.O.N is definitely a heavier record, and I'm kind of curious why go heavier for this record.
Well, it was not intentional. We don't really plan anything out when we go into making a record. We did this record with the same producer as Tear Me to Pieces, Colin Britton. And on the last record, we had a couple songs that leaned like heavier, and those were the ones that kind of connected better with our fans. Like we're working again, like a song like War on our last record. It's not like super heavy, but it has that big guitar riffs and a little bit of screaming, and it's just got a lot of power. So we knew that we weren't scared to lean more into that direction this time around. It's like, well, it's working, and every time we would get in a room to start writing something with a producer or like a co-writer or something, I would like start to scream or do something where it's like, I go, can I scream that note? Is that cool if I like hit it real hard? And they'd be like, yeah, whatever. And then I would do it, and they would just be like, whoa, dude, that's way cooler than anything else. So, like every time I could do something like that, it would kind of shock the producer or whoever was working with us that day. So it just became like well, I can still pull that off, and it's a cool thing that not everybody can do. So we just leaned into the screamy stuff a little more, and all the big riffs and stuff. That's Ryan's specialty. He loves doing that kind of stuff. So we put it all together, and it always sounds like Story of the Year. But sometimes it's a little heavier, sometimes it's not. But not a lot of planning on that. We just kind of went in the direction we were liking, and that's how it turned out.
I had this conversation on the podcast with another artist recently as well, that, when it comes to screaming as you get older, doing it, if you do it improperly, even just once, it can mess up with your vocal cords. Now, putting out a heavier record and going all in on the screams, does that ever worry you, even if you maybe go all in on the studio and then realizing like, oh, hey, I need to play this song live every single night now for the next, 2-3 months?
Not really, no. We've always had screaming stuff, and even if we only have like 1 or 2 songs with a lot of screaming on every record, it's like those are always the ones we want to play live because they're the ones with energy and they're the exciting ones. So I've been going on stage and just screaming as hard as I can for 20 something years now, every day. So no, it doesn't worry me. I mean, I'm like, oh God, that's going to be hard, but I have a very good warm up, and like, and nowadays with in-ears and technology and stuff, it's so much easier to hear. And we used to just do it with monitors on the stage, like just wedges on the stage. And it was just, everything was so loud, just amps and like just mics coming all through everything. And it was so hard to hear my voice forever. So I would lose my voice a lot, like in the early 2004, 2005 days. But nowadays, no, it's great. I have a pretty strong voice, luckily. And as long as I warm up and don't over sing, I'm usually fine. Good to go.
Well, that's awesome to hear that, you figured that out on that end of things. You did say something as well about how songs just kind of happen instead of being forced. And I'm just kind of curious, is that just because, you've been doing it for so long with the same people? What makes it easier now?
I don't know. Yeah, there was a lot of years in our middle records where, it's like, well, we have to start writing about politics or something, just trying to force ideas into our music that like weren't necessarily like super meaningful to us, So we spent so many years like trying to force one line into a song, or like trying to make things a certain way or sound a certain way. And now that we're more just like, well, first of all, we've been a band for so long that we know what we sound like. We're not afraid to try anything anymore. It's like everything, we never really were, but it's like we know we can write a weird ass song that maybe we'll never play live, but it can go on the record, and that's okay. It's like we just have a lot of freedom in the way we make music. So yeah, it's just I like to just get in a room and just, if a lyric hits me, I go, oh, okay, that's a cool idea. That's cool. Let's go in that direction, and just like kind of accept the gods to throw weird shit at you, and just see like where it takes you, instead of being like, all right, today I have to write about inequalities of this. And it's like, no, I want it to connect more on a personal level with people, and just be a subconsciously weird connection. Like I love like kind of metaphorical, dark lyrics, that might mean something completely different to me than the listener, but it's going to connect somehow, So I don't know. It was a long-winded answer of just saying, yeah, we kind of go with the flow a little more now, and it's kind of been working out. It's like, don't overthink it. Just make something you love, and people will usually like it.
Yeah, it sounds like you've figured out enough that you can basically do anything and it'll still sound like a Story of the Year song.
Yeah, definitely. As long as Ryan's doing some kind of riffy thing and I'm yelling at people in the Dan from Story of the Year voice. We have a plug-in now. We just put on the Dan plug-in, and I just talk, and it just comes out.
You got a Story of the Year AI going on.
Yeah, that's a weird joke, but I'm sure in fucking 2 more years that's going to be reality. But yeah, it always sounds like us, and we just like to enjoy it now. Quit worrying about shit so much, You
kind of mentioned a little bit about, some things in the middle records, trying to figure out some things, but I'm curious, has there ever been any pressure to try and specifically write an Until the Day I Die too?
Personal pressure, yeah, for all of us. Having a first record come out and go platinum, and be on MTV and have that kind of success and all that craziness that was the early 2000s. We were chasing that for a long time, or just trying to at least maintain some kind of level of radio success and stuff. It's like the cool thing now is, radio isn't really that important anymore. It's like people find what they want to hear. And it's the only positive thing about the way the music industry changed. It's like it took away all of our record sales and all the money in the industry. But no, like the accessibility and just the easy connection with people now, it's so much cooler and so much more artistic. You can just kind of do what you want to do and put it out. And we still, we try to write the biggest, coolest songs that we can, but we do not have that pressure anymore. It's like, just write stuff you love.
I'm curious from an artist perspective, because you kind of mentioned, you touched on, radio not being there anymore and records and all of that changing. I mean, throughout the 2000s, some of the biggest things that people were using were, apps like LimeWire and illegally downloading music, or torrents and doing that end of things. Whereas I feel like now there's more people that collect records. So there's more people buying vinyl. Have you noticed a big change in the way that people interact with music and consume music? And how does that affect things from an artist perspective?
Yeah, it is weird as of like the last 5 or 6 years, just like seeing the resurgence of vinyl coming back. And yeah, just at our record release show for A.R.S.O.N, we did a hometown local show, and we had like a couple hundred vinyls that we got shipped in and just sold them out like real fast. It's like, wow, we're selling that many physical copies of something that costs more and it's bigger, and you're not necessarily even going to use it. It's just the piece of art now. It's like, but some people actually listen to it that way too. But yeah, it's very weird. I don't know if any of it's a bad or good thing. I've just kind of gone with the flow of how it works, because it's changed so much in our 23 years or so. Well, technically we've been a band about 25 years or so as this lineup, but it's completely different. It's completely opposite. So if we worried about every minute little thing that's going to change and how it affects us, we would go crazy. But I just go with the flow. And I like I said, I like that music is so easy to have access to. And even for me personally, as a listener of music, I love just opening Spotify and having every record that I've ever listened to, at my fingertips. And I grew up having 200 CD booklets, like the big one that would hold 200 CDs. And you had to have like 2 of those, because I would have like 400 CDs in my car every day. It's like, that was a wild time, and that sucks. And then somebody breaks in and steals your entire record collection. You have to start over. It's like, fuck, dude. So, I mean, life is so much easier in that way with that technology. Yep. So I would say
we didn't have distracted driving from on the cell phone, but man, we were flipping through booklets of thousands of CDs looking for that perfect one.
Absolutely.
With one knee on the wheel.
Yep. I would not look up for just the same. It's all the same. I used to have the Visor CD holder, at least that way you could find them up here and you're kind of looking at the road still. You kept like your top 10 up there. But yeah, I would say overall, it is a positive change in the way the music world has gone. But
I'm glad to hear that from the artist thing. I think as a consumer, and someone that actively will support artists by going to shows, buying the vinyls, buying the merch, I kind of feel like, having that whole catalog of music through a streaming service is just one extra way to be like, all right, I can listen to whatever I want, whether we would have been downloading it illegally in the past or not. You kind of have that. And then you also support the artists that you wanted, the records that you buy. And I feel like I did the same thing when I was a teenager in the 2000s. I would download some stuff off of LimeWire and be like, if I liked it enough, I'd go to the record store and I would buy the CD and put it into my car.
Yeah, that's definitely the way I used that as well. Because that came out like right around the time we were starting to gain some momentum. So yeah, I would download like At the Drive-In or Refused or Taking Back Sunday, or like bands that were at the forefront of our genre, that were kind of building what we were doing. And then I would be like, okay, this band's cool. And then I would go buy it, because back then you would just look at a CD cover and be like, it looks kind of cool. I guess I'll buy it,
Yeah.
but at least at that point you could sample it first. And then if you weren't an asshole, you did go buy it. But I don't know. It's been so long since I've worried about that or even thought about complaining. Like that used to suck. Yes. When nobody bought CDs anymore and there was no money in that world, at least streaming, there is money. Yes, it's a real small amount and it does suck. It's not in favor of the artist, blah, blah, blah. But like, what am I gonna fight that? Am I gonna be Lars with fucking Napster or whatever? It's not gonna be good for anybody. So
we
I just
need
embrace
an emo Lars Ulrich.
Yeah. I don't want to be him. It's not fine. It is fine. I'm all good.
There's a lot of maturity in this record. But other than age, I'm curious, what changed that made this record more mature in your opinion?
Not our actual maturity levels. I can tell you that. We are in our mid 40s and still little children all the time, which I think is what keeps us as friends and in a band and still having fun on the road and still enjoying making music, because it is still just a hobby in a way, but it's just really fun to just be in a band still. It's like I just want to hang out with my friends and do weird shit with my friends and just have fun. Yes, we all have grown up. We all have families now. I have 2 kids. Most of us have kids in the band. So yes, there is definitely a part of us that is grown up, and we have real responsibilities and life stuff that revolves outside of our band now. So I guess that seeps into everything we write and everything we do now. But it's a good balance of like have fun, make awesome music, be a grown up, and hang out with your kids. Make music for your kids, write songs about your kids. It's like it all kind of encompasses all the same thing.
Every now and then I kind of hear this narrative of, in order to make good music, you need to be sad, or it was like I was happy, or my life stabled out, and I can't be so creative anymore. And I'm curious, you touched on the becoming a father, and most of the guys in the band being parents, and things kind of balancing out on that end of things. Does this stability ever threaten creativity?
I think it can, but there's a never ending well of just crazy shit all the time, no matter what, just having kids and supporting a family while being in a band and trying to do selfish things like play music for the rest of your life instead of getting real jobs or whatever, that has its own hardships and whole list of things that make you feel fucking crazy. And it's like, oh my God, should I keep doing this? Should I grow up and like do something else that actually makes steady income instead of going and touring for a month and hoping you get paid for it? It's like, so, no matter how stable you feel, there's always a whole list of things that are going to drive you crazy, or, you're going to freak out about or be anxious about. So I have never had issues finding that pocket of things to write about. Maybe like on our second record, when we were young and we had experienced all that success. I remember on In the Wake of Determination, because it's kind of an angrier record as well. And it was like, I'm not really that angry right now. Like everything is awesome. I tour around constantly in a huge bus. And it was like, I remember our manager being like, do you guys have anything to write about? Like, what are you going to do? And we figured it out, and the record's really cool. But see, there is times in your life where yes, sometimes negativity will bring out the best art for sure. But I've never found that there's not something negative you can dig in and find. Not that everything has to be negative. You can write positive songs too, but
what did you dig into the most for A.R.S.O.N?
As we were talking about kids, there's a song called 3 a.m. and that song is about that the back and forth of, wanting to be home, wanting to be with your family, but getting to be in a band still and having to leave for months at a time. And that's very directly what that song's about. The lyric in the verse is, in the chorus, I'm trying to think of lyrics without looking at them. It's wide awake again. It's 3 a.m. Your voice is in my head. It always happens when I'm in between. I love you and I hate myself because I'll be gone in the morning. It's like, that's deep to me. That makes me like choke up just talking about it. But, that feeling of like you leaving your fucking family because you want to go have fun with your friends, but it's your job and to do something you love. But then also showing them that I do what I want for a living. I've built this life on purpose, and I've always done exactly what I want to do. There's a lot of strength in that as well, and that's a great thing to show your kids as well. But that's one example.
I think it's very easy also for a lot of bands you see that they don't necessarily stand the test of time, or they're not they don't have the same longevity as a Story of the Year, because I think we see some bands in particular that are they started out writing songs in high school for high schoolers, and they never really grew out of that. But, Story of the Year obviously matured, and songwriting has developed and grown with you guys and with the audience, which I think is a very, very, strong thing for any band, is to write songs that grow with the audience. It's weird when a 40-year-old dude sings about being in high school. If you're singing an old song that you wrote when you were in high school and fans still love it, that's one thing. But if you were to release a song about like, hey kids, we're in high school, let's party right now as a 40-year-old man, it would be freaking weird.
Definitely. We were kind of lucky that we were kind of mature beyond our years and on our first record. And because I always liked the more kind of like deeper, heavier kind of stuff. So I loved like silly pop punk stuff too. But I think that I had that forethought to be like, okay, am I always going to like sing these cheesy, So there's always going to be a few lyrics that you're like, okay, that didn't stand the test of time. But a song like Until the Day I Die, it still resonates with people the same as it did 20 something years ago. And I don't know how we were smart enough to do it that way, but it's just a classic relationship song. And the way I was seeing it, it was kind of more about our band than like about an actual relationship with like a significant other or something. But it was just us being together constantly and that push and pull and how we loved each other and hated each other. So I don't know how it ended. We did a good job of not writing super cheesy lyrics. And, as we grew and got older, I look back and I'm like, wow, that was wise beyond its years in a weird way.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, too, I think at one point earlier on in the chat, you mentioned how like you can write a song about something and someone else can interpret it as something else. So, to write a song about you and the band and Until the Day I Die, I Spill My Heart for You is like talking about, your brothers, let's say, whereas other people are taking it as like a relationship song from whether you're 16 or 40, that's universal. Like, if you love someone, you want to spill your heart for them until the day you die.
And you want to kill them sometimes. Yeah. So that was the other part, my hands are at your throat and I think I hate you, it's like, but that works. It works on both levels. And I think we all kind of knew that at the time, but we would always tell everybody it was about the band. It's not a love song, dude. We didn't want to have a love song, but I've fully embraced it as like, it's everybody's, a wedding song. People walk down to the aisle to the acoustic version. It's like, it's really cool. And I love that it means both things. And that's awesome.
Have you seen all of the memes?
I've seen a lot of them. Yeah. And I love that. I think it's amazing. You know what? It's a weird thing. I hate the term elder emo. I think it's so stupid, but but I love seeing like how long are you going to listen to this shitty emo music until the day I die? Yeah. I love that shit. That's great. I just don't like people being like, oh, I'm too old to listen to this music, but I do. It's like, no, you're never too old to do anything and just keep fucking liking music that you like for yourself. But yeah, no, it's cool. And it definitely helps people keep us relevant and keeps people excited about our music. And that's awesome. That's a great thing.
Yeah, I've heard mixed feelings about the term elder emo. And I'm kind of curious about how some of the bands feel about it, because I've talked to some bands that love the idea of it and love to hear it, and others that aren't crazy about it. It's kind of a weird term that people have a big opinion on, to be honest. But I've always just kind of looked at it like sometimes I cringe at it, sometimes I love it. Like it's just kind of like it. Correct me if you think I'm wrong here or what you think about it, but I typically find that when it comes to the term elder emo, it gets a lot of flack because people think that it's just kind of like the overdone millennial nostalgia of like, hey, I'm only going to listen to these 12 songs basically for the rest of my life, and I'm an elder emo, versus, not discovering new music or not kind of listening to anything else. I don't know. That's what I've heard from a lot of the younger bands.
Yeah. And I've never really even complained about it. I don't really care. It's like, whatever. It's just, it's like you were kind of saying, it just has such like a finite, like, oh, well, it's just all I do now. It's like, I just do this because it's what I did 20 years ago and I will never change. And I don't have any open-mindedness to anything else. It's like, I think that's weird. And the same with us, like really trying to put out new music that we love and like trying real hard to like really put creative, good stuff out into the world. We don't want to just look back on 20 something years ago. We don't want our first record to be the only thing that we ever do. I don't know. I think that all kind of goes together. I love just like new stuff and just continuing to move. And the other thing is it's always somebody 10 to 15 years younger than me saying, well, yeah, I'm an elder emo. And I'm like
you're just like taking that personally.
Always is. I'm not kidding. And I'm like, fuck you, dude. You are 32 years old. Like, what are you talking about? Your knees still work fine. Shut up.
Dan, I hate to break it to you, but you are actually not an elder emo. You are in the class of geriatric emo.
Yes. Yeah, that's good. I'm going to start being like, yeah, well, you might be elder emo. I'm geriatric emo. I like that.
I'm curious how you feel about the term emo in general, because actually I had JT of Hawthorne Heights on the show. We had a whole chat surrounding the word emo and the genre itself. So would you consider Story of the Year an emo band? And where do you fit within the scene if that's the case?
And that has evolved a lot over the years. No, I never thought of us as an emo band. Emo bands were like Sunny Day Real Estate and Promise Ring, or Get Up Kids, or stuff from the 90s. That was emo. And then there was hardcore, and there was punk rock, and then there was pop punk, and then there was post hardcore, and then there was so many divisive genre names, which was weird at the time. And then that's the only what I'm getting to is that's the reason why I kind of embrace the emo thing now. It does kind of encompass all the genres, kind of brings everything together in a nice way, where you go to an emo night or something, and they're going to play Story of the Year, they're going to play Fall Out Boy, they're going to play Papa Roach, Linkin Park, like anything poppier or heavier, or it's like it all is encompassed in one thing now. So I think that's a very positive thing, and it's kind of awesome. But as far as like their origins of what the word emo and how that came about, we were never that kind of band, but I love it, and I think we fit into this genre of what it all is now. But yeah, if 16-year-old me would be like, fuck you, dude. No fucking way, dude. I listen to fucking punk rock, dude. I listen to Bouncing Souls, bro.
It's so funny because I was the same way growing up at 16. I was like, if you called me emo, even though I had the emo swoop and all of that, I'd be ready to fight. Those are fighting words, right? It was like I listened to post-hardcore. I listened to punk. I was listening to NoFX. I had my NoFX t-shirt on after school at a Catholic school. I'd take off my uniform, and there'd be NoFX with Jesus holding a bottle of booze, and it said, never trust a hippie.
Never trust a hippie.
So that was my favorite shirt in high school.
Yeah.
But it's funny because now looking back, I feel like we've just classified everything as emo because we were kind of like the emo kids as much as we hated that term. And we kind of listened to everything. Like we listened to like Linkin Park, even though we would never call Linkin Park an emo band. And then we listened to Story of the Year, and then, My Chemical Romance and all of these bands. So it kind of just, I don't know. I feel like I've succumbed to it, and I've just given into the emo name and calling everything emo. As much as I know, I'm like, Linkin Park isn't a freaking emo band, but like, whatever. People want to start calling Linkin Park emo, like, whatever, dude. I'm 30. Like, I'm 34. I don't care. It's not the hill I want to die on anymore. When I was 16, I would have killed someone for it, but now
I embraced it. It's totally fine with me now, and I just love that people are liking music. It kind of is like what alternative was like in the 90s or something. It's like it's just the alternative music. It's that weird stuff that they mosh to. It's like, okay, cool. It's those emo guys that wear black, and they have tattoos, and they wear Vans. And it's like, well, yeah, that's me, I guess. Yeah, cool. So yeah, I don't care. I love it because my kids are like, "Oh, Dad, you're emo," and they like say it like as a joke, and I'm like, "Yeah, fucking built that shit," Not really. I didn't really build emo, but I had a part in it. And I was part of it. But yeah, so I don't give a shit as long as people like music. Listen to my band or don't. Call it whatever you want. We did hate it at first when they would call it screamo because we were like fucking screamo. That was like us and the Used and. That world of bands, it was like everybody was calling it screamo for a while. And that was when we really didn't want to be called emo. So now I really don't care. Call me anything.
I haven't heard anyone use the term screamo in a very long time. Just
that record. One kind of went away, and now it's all just emo. So yeah, it's weird.
Now new metal's emo, post-hardcore, everything's just emo now at this point. But why do you think that the term emo is more accepted now? Like, why did we go with that term?
I don't know. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Emotional music, right? I mean, emo is short for emotional. So yeah, there's emotion in every kind of music, really. So that doesn't really mean anything. That could just mean music. We are music. Yes. Hi. Yes. Listen to my music band. But yeah, I think it's just, it's a genre that's not afraid to show emotions and be different and be dark and weird and crazy. And that can be punk rock. That can be metal. That can be hardcore, everything in between. So I guess it just kind of fits on a larger level.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of touched on the whole side of things of like, we just want people to continue to listen to the newer stuff and not just stick within the nostalgia, like continue to grow, right? Which I personally am a big believer in that. And I believe in that. And I believe not just listening to the new bands and the bands that we loved for 20 years, but also listening to new bands in general. A big portion of this podcast is actually geared towards, let's say, millennials that grew up listening to bands like Story of the Year, but life kind of happens for some reason, one way or another, where you get jobs, you have kids, all of these things. And I think that people go through a little era where they stop seeking out new music and they only listen to the old stuff. And then it comes back around again where you're like, all right, I missed out on like a whole decade of discovering music. Let's go and figure out what I missed and then start discovering new music as well. So that's kind of what the podcast was originally intended for, is to like, let's help people rediscover new music. And so one of the questions that I ask in every single podcast is for the people that are on the show, what are you listening to right now from any up and coming or underrated artists, so we can help spread the word and continue to discover new music?
That's a hard one because, we are so surrounded by music all the time, but most of it is older bands, especially right now with the resurgence of everything we do. I hang out with all the bands that we were hanging out with 20 years ago and the ones that are still going. And like at things like When We Were Young or something, it's like just a bunch of the dudes that I've been hanging out with for 20 years, which is awesome. But just before this, I was listening to Military Gun. I don't know if you've ever heard Military Gun, but they're awesome.
Love them.
I think they're amazing. There's a band called the Codefendants that is Fat Mike from NoFX's kind of side project. I mean, he's like in the band, but he just kind of produces more. But it's Sam from Get Dead and a dude named Chetsky, who's like more of a rapper, but it's like punk rock and hip hop. It's so awesome. It's like the best blend of everything that we all love. I guess kind of the collection of what we all call emo. It's like, it's more on the hip hop side of punk rock, but it's definitely still got that emo vibe to it. So I would say Codefendants, one of the coolest things I've heard in a long time. They have a new record coming out very soon. Yeah, stuff like that. I don't know. I listen to like a lot of underground kind of punk rock stuff still. But a lot of it is older, like a Wilhelm Scream just put a new record out and it's about to come out. I've only heard a few songs, but I love Wilhelm Scream, but they've been around for a long time, but definitely an underrated punk band that more people need to know about. But I don't know, something like that.
We kind of talked a little bit about the nostalgia portion. I know you mentioned When We Were Young and a lot of the bands that you grew up playing with. How do you feel about a lot of these festivals coming back? And I like to say that they're celebrating the scene, but they can also kind of be a part of the nostalgia trap. It's kind of like a weird way of saying, how do you feel about the nostalgia aspect of it at the same time?
Yeah. I don't know. It's been very positive for us every time we've done 3 of the 4 When We Were Young. So, and it's an amazing show. It's awesome. A lot of it is built on the nostalgia for sure, but, a lot of people that are there, I will talk to, like, we'll do a meet and greet or talk to people and they'll be like, man, I haven't seen you guys since 2004, man. This is so awesome. I didn't know you had a new record. I'm so excited to see you guys. I didn't know you're still doing it. And you guys are still so good, So at least, even if those people haven't listened to anybody in 20 years, at least it's getting them excited again and bringing them back out. And then, hopefully committing them to listening to more of your new stuff. And so I think that's a very positive thing. We're doing a few of the Warped Tours this year. We did the Orlando one last year. And like we were joking at the beginning, hopefully we'll finally get somewhere from Warped Tour, but no, Warped Tour was such a big part of us, gaining all the traction in our early days. We did 2003, 4, and 5, 2008, 2013. Like we did so many of them, and they were such a big part of us becoming a bigger band. Like 04 Warped Tour was just insane. It's like, I can't even remember all the bands. It was us and the Used and Taking Back Sunday, and I think Yellow Card was there, or that might have been 03. But between those 2 years and Mike Kim and everybody, it's like all the big bands from that genre, we all were on that tour together. And so that one, it has a big part of our hearts, and we're excited to do those again. And yeah, I think it's all pretty much positive. It's like if anybody can get to see your band because they're there to see any, one of the other 40 bands that are there, but if they get positive reaction out of your set, then that's great.
Yeah, it's really cool. I always looked at When We Were Young as a way of celebrating the scene that we grew up loving. And, you know, the cool thing is every now and then you get a young band in there as well. But it is cool because, like you mentioned, some of the bands that people get to see, maybe people haven't been able to see Story of the Year in 20 years, and they finally get to see your band. Or maybe some people get one trip out of the entire year and they don't get to many concerts. Or maybe a lot of bands don't go through their city because they're in a smaller part of the world, or even America or Canada. And, you know, one weekend they get to see all of their favorite bands. Like, I think that's really, really cool. What was your experience with Warped Tour like last year and now going into it for this coming year? Big difference from doing it in the 2000s as a band, or what's that like compared to the 2000s?
It's definitely different now. It's the Warped Festival now. You know, it's not the underground, just disgusting parking lot Warped Tour that it used to be. You know, because we would do 60 shows in like 65 days or something. You know, on the Warped Tour, like in the early days, and it would go like 15, 16 days in a row. Like just grimy, dirty, hot ass tour. And, you know, it's like every day you just wake up and you're like, oh, fucking Warped Tour. and you go on stage and you're just hot and you're dehydrated and everybody's dead. And it's just like, it was insane, but like in a very positive way. All of that sounded very negative, but like it was such a cool fucking thing. And now this time it just felt like when we were young or something. You know, it's a big stadium, awesome show, and it's like huge stages, and it was amazing. The Orlando one we did, there was probably 40,000 people watching us. It was insane. So it's like, it's on a bigger scale for sure. Like Warped Tour would have 10, 15,000 people in every city, probably, you know, on the tour one back in the day. But yeah, it's a bigger scale Warped Tour, but it still has the same vibe. They still run it the same way. It's still done exactly how you need it to be done, and celebrating the bands in the right way. And I think it's awesome. Warped Tour is amazing. I hope they do more and more, and I hope they keep asking us.
I hope that they keep extending more dates, and the next Canadian one is in Toronto rather than in Montreal, but I'll still go to the Montreal one.
Yeah, it seems like Toronto would have made more sense, but yeah, maybe that's closer to DC, so they want to spread it out a little bit, or I don't know. But yeah, we couldn't end up doing that one for a conflict of what am I trying to say? Just timing. We couldn't make it work.
Regional conflicts, or
just like scheduling. Yeah, we just had other shit going on, so I couldn't remember the word scheduling just now. But so we're doing the other three. We're doing Mexico City if that doesn't all burn down in the next fucking couple weeks. However, that's working out down there. But Long Beach, DC, and Mexico City, and we're not doing Orlando because we just did that one last year. But so yeah, we're excited.
Anything else that you're excited for in 2026 outside of the record coming out?
Yeah, we have a bunch of touring that we're getting ready to announce. A bunch of US touring. We're just finishing up the tour dates and stuff. We were supposed to be in Australia right now. When the record came out, it was supposed to be doing a month-long Australian tour with Parkway Drive and a bunch of other bands. It was a big Parkway Drive festival. But for whatever reason, Parkway Drive canceled the whole thing. I guess the money wasn't working. I don't really know. Had nothing to do with us. But anyway, we didn't get to go to Australia for this month. But we'll get back there as well. But yeah, we have 2 different legs of a U.S. tour that we're going to announce with a really cool band that everybody will be excited about, and we're real excited. I just don't want to spoil anything yet because we'll be announcing real soon. So we got a lot of stuff coming up. A big year. It's going to be great.
How soon will that be announced? I'm just kind of curious if we could announce it here, if the show will be coming out afterwards.
Yeah, I don't know. We're trying to announce it like ASAP. We wanted to try to get it out along with the album release and stuff, but they're still figuring out dates. I guess I could just say what we're doing, and then if it's like, don't put that in there, it'd be fine.
We can just cut it. That's fine.
All right. Well, we have 2 legs of touring in the U.S. With our friends. So Story of the Year are going to go out together and do the U.S., pretty much full U.S. A couple months, and it's going to be awesome. We've known those guys for 20-something years, and yeah, it's going to bunch of friends partying together.
Amazing. And if this comes out before that announcement, you're just going to hear a whole bunch of beeps or a weird, awkward edit at this point.
And
if it's already been announced, woohoo!
Yeah, woo!
We got
I'm excited.
A Story of the Year tour.
Yes. Yeah, it's weird because we've never done a tour together fully with those guys. We've done a lot of like Warped tours and just festival shows and a lot of little stuff together. And we've been friends for a long time. So this is a really cool thing.
That's very exciting. So if you're watching this or listening to this and there wasn't anything edited, go get your tickets or keep that saved for when the tickets will go on sale. Also, go and stream A.R.S.O.N. It is out now. And please remember to rate and review the show wherever you're listening, or subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Dan, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This has been such an amazing chat. And I really look forward to that announcement becoming official.
Yeah, it should be very soon. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff we're getting ready to do. So we're just happy to have a new record out and happy people are liking it. People are very excited about it. And that's all you can ask for, to put new stuff out 20 something years later and have people actually enjoy it. And that's great. We're happy, man. Thanks for taking the time to hang out with me.
Thank you. And it is a fantastic record, which I don't think I put on the record there, but I have been listening to it for the last little while, and it is a fantastic record. And if people are listening to this interview because they love Until the Day I Die and, Anthem of Our Dying Day, then, go and stream the new stuff too.
Yes, please. Keep listening to the old stuff too. That's fine. I don't care. Just like Story of the Year, please.
Thank you for listening to OurSpace with Matt Vettese. If you enjoyed yourself, please support the show by subscribing and leaving a review.